Welcome back, guys. So here we're going to work through the worksheet. Make sure you have downloaded them and then worked on doing it on your own first. You can listen to the first part where I set up the question, but then pause at any time when you feel like, hey, I've got this, I know how to do this, and then check back to watch or fast forward through the video to check your answer. Again, the best way is for you to do this on your own. Okay, so let's start. The first question is, remember the following when working pedigree table. So we've gone through this. What you're seeing is called a pedigree. It's talking about a certain trait and how it's been passed down in the family. That in the shaded circle or square indicate that a person has the trait. Now we've already gone through this. That square is the male and circle is the female, and whoever is shaded has the trait. Now let's continue to read the question. The pedigree seen below is for color blindness. Okay, let's make sure that we highlight color blindness. Why? Actually, that's not a good color. Let me repeat doing that. Let's change the color into something visible. Okay, color blindness. Now that tells us quite a bit actually, because color blindness is what? Is it autosomal or is it sex linked, right? So always ask yourself that question. Question one, autosomal or sex linked? Do you remember that? Yes, sex linked. So color blindness actually sits on your X chromosome and not on your Y chromosome if you have one. Number two, is it what? What is your question? Dominant or recessive? Yes. So if you go back to our previous lectures, what is color blindness? Recessive. Now that you've answered these two main questions, you can begin to set up your key. Okay, so that will be your step. Okay, so what is your step? What is our key? Well, look here. If you have a male that is not affected, how do we write this? Do you write big C, little c? What do you write? Okay, so let's look at this. Because it is sex linked, you actually need to put the gene on a chromosome. This is key. Any sex linked question, you have to list out the sex chromosome. That's the only way you can follow this gene through the pedigree. So if you're male, you're actually XY. Okay, and because you're not affected, you are a big C. And let's say I just leave it out. That means this person is affected. Well, what about a female that's unaffected? Well, that will be XX. And guess what? Well, actually, let's do write the C. That might be clearer. Let's put a big C. If you are unaffected, you can be big C, little c, or big C, correct? Let's move on to affected male. What if you're affected male? What are you? You're XY. And now what type of C do you have? Yes, little c. What if you're affected female? What are you? Yes, XX. And what do you have? Yes, you have double little c. Okay, does that make sense? So now let's put a underscore on the little c. This makes it cleaner and we can see better. Now what's next? First, ask yourself, is this sex linked? Second, ask yourself, recessive, dominant, and then you can build your key. Okay, once you build your key, you can come back and actually fill in what each person have, and that will be the next step, meaning now you can assign the genotypes. Okay, so first, ask questions. Okay, let me list that out. Your formula is first, ask questions. And these are the two questions you ask. Number two, you build the key. And that comes from knowing the answers to the question, then you can build your key. What about number 3? You assign the genotype. Okay, and you start with the known. What do you mean start with the known? Well, let's check. Our key says anybody that's affected, or in that sense, any male can only be one genotype. So those are set and known, okay? Which means we can go ahead and actually assign those because they'll be easy to assign, okay? So let's do that. Let's look at our key right here and then start assigning exactly what their genotype would be. Now let's look. I know all the unaffected male will be X big CY. So this one will be X big CY. X big CY. X big CY. Make sense? What about this guy? Well, I know any affected male will be little c, X little cy. Again, because the gene does not sit on Y chromosome as indicated previously, it's a X-linked gene. So that's why we don't see anything on Y. And just having one little c, you have it. Okay? So X little cy. X little cy. X little cy. X little cy. So I'm just looking at my key and then filling it in. Now, what's another one known? Any affected female will be XX little c. So what am I left with? I am left with all the open circles and I don't know them. So I have to guess. Okay, so one easy way going forward is I list XX because they're girls. So that's known. And then the easiest way is work from bottom up because it's usually the offspring that tells us about the parents. So for this girl, what would this girl have? Well, guess what? She is not affected, okay? So she must have a big C, correct? Because she's not affected. Okay, she got one big C. Now, what can she get from daddy? Let's see. Can she get the Y? No, she's a girl. So she can only get little c from daddy. Do you see that? Because daddy can only give X with the little c. So that's her only choice, which means where does she get this big C? Oh, from mom. Okay, so mom must have a big C, and that makes sense because mom is not affected. Now, what about this little x? What will that be? Well, let's look at the offspring. The fact that she has a daughter that has double little c means what? That daddy gave one of the little c and mommy must have given the other little c. There you go. So now that you've solved 7, let's move up again, okay? Let's look at 5. What will 5 have? Well, 5 must have a big C, correct? In fact, any of these must have a big C to appear normal. So that's a given. We're just deciding what's the second X. What's the second X? Is it a little c or is it a big C? So with this individual, what will dad give? Big C. What will mom give? Big C. So this individual can be big C, but did I eliminate the other possibility, which is big C, little c? I don't know. I'll come back. Okay, so let's go up again. Daddy is no. What about mommy? The fact that mommy is not affected, she must have a big C. But let's look at this individual. Okay, this is a male that is affected. Where did he get his Y? Oh, from dad. So the fact that he has an affected X, that X must come from mom. So mom has to have a little c. What does this tell you? It tells you that any male that's affected with color blindness got its gene from mom, not from dad, but from mom, because dad gave the Y. Okay, so whenever you see an affected male with color blindness, that means his mom is either colorblind or a carrier because mom gave him the X. With mom being heterozygous, that means number 5 could be heterozygous as well because this big C could come from dad and little c come from mom. So there's actually 2 options right here. Let's move on this side of things, okay? Let's look at number 9. Number 9 is big C, and we don't know the next one. So let's look at dad. Dad has a little c on X, and dad has to give that X because that's the only chromosome he can give to a daughter. He cannot give the Y. So most likely, all of his daughter will be carriers. So if you are an affected male with color blindness, you will give that gene to your daughter. So all your daughter will be carriers. That's a given. Final person that we haven't figured out is number 3. What do you think? Can she be big C, little c? Well, let's look at this. She doesn't have any daughter that is homozygous. So we really don't know. So she again can be big C, or big C, little c. Because, look here. Oh no, she has a son that is affected. So can she be big C? Let's think through this. What are you talking about? Okay, let's look at, because the son is affected, where did he get his Y? From dad, right? So where do you think he got his affected X? Is it from dad? No, he got the Y from dad. So he has to get the affected X from mom. So mom has to be heterozygous to give him that little c. Does that make sense? So we have finished assigning our genotype. That's number 3. And then now we can answer. Now we can go and answer whatever question. Okay, answer questions. Okay, so let's look at what questions we have. First one, how did you determine the genotype of mom at 3? We just did that. How do we determine this? Well, we look at her. She looks fine, so she must have a big C. But she has a son that's affected. And she must have passed on an X to the son because that's the only thing she can give the son is an X. And the fact that he's affected means she must be a carrier. Okay, so we determine the genotype of mom by looking at her son. Okay, so that's how we determine that one. Number 8 was colorblind, just like his father. So this is a tricky one. It says, hey, number 8 is just like his father. Where do you think he got his allele for colorblindness? Answer, is it the dad? No, the dad gave the Y, remember? Let's draw this out. Dad gave the Y. Who gave this? Did dad give him? No, it's the mom. And so where did he get it? It's mommy. Okay. Next, neither number 1 nor number 2 were colorblind. How did they have a colorblind son? Yes, that used to be the question, right? I'm fine. My spouse is fine. Where do we get the son from? Do you think it is daddy? No. Colorblind son always come from mommy, who is, and if they're both fine, the mommy must be a carrier. So let's look. Number 1 and number 2, yep, they look fine. Where did he get it? Let's try this again so it's clear. Where did he get his Y? Daddy. Where did he get his X? Mommy, right? So how did they have a colorblind son? They have a mom that was a carrier for color blindness. Okay. Next question. What must be the genotype of the parents of a colorblind daughter? What must be the genotype? Okay. And explain. Now let's think this through. Well, the genotype must be XX and XY because you have a female and a male that give rise to a colorblind daughter. And for daughter to be colorblind, she must carry 2 little c's that's affected. So for dad, what will dad give? Dad must be colorblind, right? Dad needs to give the little c to the colorblind daughter, so dad must be colorblind. What about mom? Well, mom actually can be two things. She can either be okay, but a carrier, or she can be colorblind herself. Oops, this is supposed to be round. She's a girl. Either way, she can give that little c. Do you see that? Okay, so what must be the genotype? It can be this or this. Next, if number 13, let's look, marries, so number 13, marries a man, what is the probability that their son will be colorblind? This man is normal. Okay, let's look at number 13. She is affected. So again, we need to write out our genotype. X little c, X little c, that is number 13. Normal man means XY, right? Normal means big C. Probability. Okay, how do we do that? We go through the steps I've talked about again. 1, you list out the genotype. 2, what is their gametes, correct? That's what we've done the whole time. The gametes will be, for the girl, only X little c. That's the only possibility. But for the guy, it can be big C or Y, correct? For girl, these are the same, so only little c is possible. Let's draw out. So you can be big C, little c, and little c, Y. So what is the probability that their son? Well, do you see any other possibility for the son except being affected? No, all sons will be affected. So what is the possibility that their son will be colorblind? It will be 100%. Okay, so any colorblind mommy will have colorblind son. That's a given. Okay, so that is the first question. Let's move on to the second question. Again, you can apply. So I would highly recommend pausing here and try to do this on your own. It's not helpful for me to solve this for you if you can't do it on the exam. The exam will be heavily problem solving, and it will require you to know how to set up problems by following my formula. Question 1, is it sex-linked or autosomal? If it's sex-linked, you need to list XX, XY. If it's autosomal, you can just go ahead with big A, little a, or big B, little b, because they are inherited equally. Okay, so let's look at the question right now. Queen Victoria was the world's most famous carrier of hemophilia. What do we know about hemophilia? Our question. Hemophilia is indeed X-linked or sex-linked. And number 2, it is recessive. So again, I need to list everything using my previous key. And let me draw out my key again. The fact that girls are XX, big H, or big H, little h. That's my key. Affected ones for sure needs to have both. And then for guys, they're XY. And if they're normal, then they will have big H. If they're affected, they will have little h. So that's my key for hemophilia. And we talked about this in lecture. So you need to know that colorblindness and hemophilia are X-linked recessive traits. Okay, let's continue. Her son, Leopold, and 2 carrier daughters, Elise and Beatrice, spread the gene fairly widely through the royal family of Europe and Russia. Fortunately, no modern monarchs have inherited the allele, indicating the probably genotype of each of the people below. So it's asking you to indicate the genotype. And it tells you it's a sex-linked trait. And if you look, the fact that it jumped generation from my previous lecture, you'll remember, what does that mean? If you can jump generation, not show it in a certain generation and then show, that will be recessive. Okay, shaded individual have disease. Perfect. So let's list out the genotype. That's all it's asking. So that's pretty straightforward. Can you do this? If you can't, stop my video and then try to label whatever is known. That will be the bottom 3. You can list all of this already in here and then figure out the open circle. See if you can do this. Pause my circle and pause my video and then come back and check your answer. Okay. Hopefully you've done this on your own to figure it out. Let's come back and try it. I'm going to start with this one. Okay. Anybody that is this, I'm going to label. I don't see any. Anybody is this? Yes. Okay. So this will be this. I'm going to see if I can make this bigger. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Right? So this part is totally easy. You just look at your key and you'll be able to figure things out. Now, what about this type? Okay, little h. So this guy has little hy, and the fact that they are males, I can always figure this out already. Little h. Now I am left with all the girls that aren't affected. So I'm going to put them all XX. And then I am going to give H to each one of them, the big H. You know why? Because they are open circle. That means they must have at least one big H to be unaffected, correct? So the next step is, do they have the other little h? Now let's work up from here. Okay, this one. The fact that mommy isn't affected, mommy must be big H, but she gave little h to the son, so she must be heterozygous. Do we see what daddy is? No, it wasn't given. We don't know if daddy is affected, daddy is not, but since this started in this family, most likely daddy is normal, so most likely the fact that the girl looks fine, but mommy was a carrier, girls could totally be a carrier, but could also be normal for both. We don't know, okay, because we don't have further information. What about this? Again, if mommy has son that's affected, mommy must be carrier. Remember, because daddy gave the Y. If son is affected, mommy must be carrier. This one will need to look at daddy, correct? Because if daddy is affected, he can only give little h, okay? And the fact that this mommy had affected son, do you see that? So she has to be carrier. That means this daughter could get the big H from dad and the small h from mom, or big H. So this daughter could also be either or. Okay, what about, let's move on to this daughter. Well, this daughter has a son that's affected, so she has to be heterozygous. What about this daughter? She has to be heterozygous because she has a son, right? What about this one? Same thing, okay? So that was easy. And what about this daughter? Well, we don't know enough. So she can be, again, either or, because we don't know about the father. But mother is a carrier, so she could easily give the little h to her. I think that's it. This was easy. So hopefully this is what you got. And hopefully that was very easily figured out. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and start another video, but highly recommend that you finish the rest by using the formula, kind of listing. Let me see. Where's my other page? Somehow it wasn't put on here. Okay, so I'm going to record another video for the rest of the questions, but make sure that you work on it on your own first. That's the best way to learn this. Okay, see you in the next video.